Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The truth about the Chrisley family assault accusations. Julie was heartbroken over claims she put her hands on stepdaughter Lindsie. Years after Lindsie Chrisley made the shocking allegation Julie Chrisley shoved at her neck, a production insider exclusively has opened up to RadarOnline.com to refute the allegation. On a 2019 episode of Drive Phil, Lindsie had claimed there was an argument and the altercation escalated and Julie shoved me at my neck. Julie never assaulted Lindsie or put her hands on her. A source exclusively dished to us. Anyone who knows Julie knows that's not even something she's remotely capable of. The allegations Lindsie is making are coming from someone who claims they asked Julie to adopt them and said in a 2023 podcast they had no regrets about and am glad they made that decision, the insider elaborated. Why would someone you wanted to adopt you put their hands on you? It doesn't make sense. On a recent podcast episode of The Southern Tea, Lindsie discussed the alleged incident again, reiterating there was a physical altercation. But, outside of that, she said, Julie has never done anything to me and has not gone out of her way to emotionally harm me or had reckless behavior. She also claimed there were significant records regarding the alleged incident as she had reported it to all three media. Lindsie revealed the night the alleged incident happened, production took her to an undisclosed hotel location and would not tell the other people involved in the incident where she was. Then she alleges they flew her back home. The source insisted Lindsie's claims that production put her in a hotel does not back her story. Based on where Lindsie was residing at the time, the insider explained production had previously put her up in hotels when she would fly into Nashville to film. So this wasn't a special reward or them siding with her or anything, the source said in rebuttal to her version of events. And if Julie did get physical, why was there no police report filed? Why wasn't Julie disciplined by the network? Why was Lindsie then the one who left the show? These are all valid questions that don't seem to align with Julie assaulting her. While people may think Julie's husband, Todd, ultimately had control over what happened in terms of casting of the show, meaning that Julie could have stayed regardless of any alleged incidents if Todd said she was to remain there, the source insisted that wasn't the case. There was still a production company and a major TV network that made final rulings, not Todd, they confirmed. While the Chrisley family has been estranged from Lindsie for quite some time, the insider explained this particular situation Lindsie keeps discussing still tears at Julie's heartstrings. At the end of the day, this situation with Lindsie and the allegation absolutely broke Julie's heart, the source shared. Julie considered Lindsie like her own daughter and raised her, and having this horrid accusation waged against her. It's something Julie's never been able to get over. Rumors move faster than facts in the world of reality television. One whisper becomes a headline becomes a trending hashtag, and before anyone's had time to take a breath, a family's private pain is being played out on 1,000 glowing screens. The Chrisleys, a clan whose name is as much a brand as it is a bloodline, have weathered their share of storms, but few hurts cut as oddly close to home as the accusations that Julie Chrisley once put her hands on her stepdaughter Lindsie. Whether true, exaggerated, or entirely misconstrued, the episode laid bare something more complicated and human than gossip. A family torn between performance and protection, love and loyalty, truth and survival. Let's be clear from the outset. What follows is a creative exploration, a storytelling stitch between what fans have seen and the quieter, often messy emotions that likely underlie public rows. It's not a police report, and it's not a court transcript. It is, instead, an attempt to make sense of how an accusation can ripple outwards and leave everyone in its wake reeling, especially a woman who, according to multiple accounts, was left heartbroken by the suggestion that she'd physically harmed a child she raised as her own. Imagine the scene, a living room where the family's laughter has been recorded for seasons. Cameras capture the holidays, the cake-frosted smiles, the staged confessions, a relentless archive of performative intimacy that also doubles as a public ledger of personal history. Into that frame comes a disruption. A voice on the internet, a text message, a former friend's tweet, a private conversation leaked and weaponized. The allegation lands like a pebble in a pond. Ripples. The image of Julie, pictured in glossy magazine shots and glossy confessionals, is reframed overnight. The peg sticks. Julie put her hands on Lindsie. The phrasing is designed to inflame. It does. For Julie, the damage likely didn't arise solely from the allegation itself, but from its implied betrayal. Nothing fractures a parent's sense of self like the idea that someone believes, or wants others to believe, you hurt a child. The family had long presented itself as a fortress built around patriarchal charisma, with Todd's bluster and Julie's steady-eyed counterbalance. In that structure, the claim of physical aggression is less an isolated event and more an accusation that the very foundation has cracked. Heartbroken is a soft word for something that probably felt much nastier. For Julie, the heartbreak could have been a compound ache. The humiliation of public suspicion, the fear for a family member's reputation, the private knowledge that raising kids in the glare of cameras leaves wounds that cameras miss, and the gnawing question of whether history, with its uneven memories and selective edits, had been weaponized against her. If you spend your life performing authenticity on television, the cruel irony is that once an accusation flies, you can't stage manage your way back to trust. And then there's Lindsie, a stepdaughter who occupies an odd emotional territory. She is both insider and outsider, raised in the family's orbit yet positioned at times as an independent subject of public narrative. The allegation explicitly places her at the center, but the story around her becomes blurred by assumptions. Did she say it? Did someone say it for her? Was it an offhanded comment turned headline? In the fog of social media, intention is easily lost, and every nuance can be rewritten as motive. Where the tabloids smelled drama, the human truth is messier. Families do not exist in neat narratives. Old resentments, complicated loyalties, and years of unrecorded slights often feed the headlines that tabloids then harvest. An accusation like this is less often born of sudden malice than of slow-burn friction that finally bursts into the open. The people who storm into the comments sections rarely know the small, private incidents that accumulate into a larger fracture. The snide remark at dinner, the dashed expectation, the conversation that ended with a slam were predictably polarized. Some rallied to Julie's defense, citing years of maternal devotion, public acts of charity, and the intimate footage that had endeared her to millions. Others took the allegation at face value, their judgments shaped by a media cycle that favors sensational claims over patient investigation. Neither camp is wholly right, neither is wholly wrong. What's true is that in the absence of complete information, people fill the gaps with their own histories and prejudices. If there is a lesson in this particular storm, it may be that reality TV has made us both more intimate and more remote. We've spent countless hours inside the Chrisley home, but what we consume is an edited pastiche of reality. Highlights, not history. When accusations surface, the public expects immediate verdicts. We forget that family systems are complex. Black and white narratives rarely hold water. In cases like this, what's needed isn't an instant social media execution but a careful, humane accounting. Listening to all voices, protecting children, and resisting the temptation to let outrage replace inquiry. Julie's heartbreak, whether publicized, dramatized, or privately gnawed, also speaks to another truth. Being in the public eye amplifies vulnerability. When your life is content, every quarrel becomes a show, every misstep a clip packaged for virality. That reality breeds a double demand, to be relatable and to be impeccable. Fail at either, and the fans pivot to schadenfreude or sanctimony. By the time the cameras stop rolling and the notifications die down, families are left to pick up the shards. Truth in its quiet, unglamorous form is seldom a social media soundbite. It's a patient piecing together of timelines, testimonies, and context, sometimes messy, sometimes exculpatory, sometimes painfully confirming. For Julie, whatever the legal truth may be, and for the record, allegations are not the same as proven facts. The emotional truth is clear. The accusation hurt. It hurt her family. It hurt the woman who had for years curated smiles for the camera and tenderness for her children. This kind of episode also invites empathy for Lindsie, whether she herself raised the accusation or was speaking through someone else. She too is living, or has lived, in the complicated hothouse of celebrity family dynamics. If there is anger, it's understandable. If there is regret, it's possible. Human beings are not monoliths. They can be both loyal and resentful, loving and estranged. In the end, the story around the Chrisley accusation tells us more about ourselves than it does about any single family. We are a culture that loves narratives of fall and redemption, and we will often choose drama over the harder work of understanding. We want closure, and social media markets it with ruthless efficiency. But families deserve a different currency: time, space, and the possibility of a private reconciliation not monetized for clicks. If Julie was truly heartbroken, then maybe the only honest response is to recognize that heartbreak without turning it into spectacle. Let the courts if there are courts, and let private conversations if there are private people. Meanwhile, the rest of us can try the stranger, rarer act of restraint. To withhold judgment until more is known, to imagine the human faces behind the headlines, and to remember that behind every viral accusation is a family whose life will continue, with or without our applause. The chips will fall where they fall. Headlines will move on, but the quieter truth lingers. When public life and private pain intersect, the people involved are the ones who carry the weight, and sometimes all they ask for is the space to heal.